Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐵.
Hello friends, this is Vijay. A very good evening. In our today's discussion, we are going to discuss some 5 topics in the display. The first one is related to BRICS. So the 15th BRIC Summit, it is going to happen in South Africa, and its significance is in Mains GS2 International Relations, right? Then secondly, we are having an article related to a handbook by Supreme Court. Supreme Court recently unveiled the handbook to eliminate gender stereotype, right? So this is the second article we are having. Then thirdly, it is an article related to the digital health initiative of WHO. So WHO managed GRID to promote digital health. This is the third article. Then fourthly, an article related to the megalith period. So pipeline work leads to vast megalith site in Kerala. So this is the fourth one. Then lastly, it is an article related to the white-bellied sea eagle. It came in the front page. So these are all the articles we are going to discuss today. These 3 articles, they are highly significant from the perspective of mains, and last 2 articles, they are significant from the aspect of prelims. Now without any further delay, let us dive into the discussion part. This is the first article, guys. Why is BRIC Summit important for India, right? So before getting into the article, we need to know some basics of BRICS, right? So here in the image, you can see the countries which are represented in BRICS. In the year 2006, a G20 summit, it happened in the St. Petersburg. So on the sidelines of the summit, the 4 countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. So these 4 countries, they actually conducted an informal summit. So that's what the economist O'Neill, he actually founded the acronym BRIC, right? Then in the year 2007, they actually formalized the institution BRIC. Then in the year 2010, South Africa, it also joined the entity BRIC, and the organization became BRICS. Okay, so this is how the birth of the BRICS had taken place. Then we need to know the motive of BRICS, right? Most of the members in the BRICS, they are from a developing world. So they are looking up for achieving some political clout in the international arena. So before getting the political clout, they need to have some command over the resources which are present in the international arena. So they are looking up to converge their interest in the Bretton Woods institutions like World Bank, then IMF. So in the year 2012, they actually contributed some $75 billion to the IMF. Because we are well known in the IMF, the voting share, it will be given to country X based on the sanctions or the donations or the contributions what they are making to the IMF. Okay, so this is how the IMF voting share have been provided to each and every member countries. So to achieve some economical clout in the IMF in the year 2012, they sanctioned some $75 billion contributions to the IMF. But in return, they didn't get anything fruitful from the IMF. So, in the year 2013, they actually formulated some basic protocols for the formulation of new development bank. Then in the year 2014, in the 6th BRIC Summit, they formally launched the new development bank. Their main motive is to aid the nations who are facing the payment crisis with the financial institution which are highly differ from the IMF and the World Bank. So this is the main motive of BRICS members. So that's what in the year 2014, NDB, it came into existence. So here is the NDB, guys. So as like World Bank, NDB will be functioning as a multilateral development bank, and it is jointly founded by BRICS countries at the 6th BRIC Summit in Fortaleza, which is located in Brazil in the year of 2014. Okay, so it was formed to support infrastructure, sustainable development efforts in BRICS countries and other underserved and emerging economies for faster development through innovation and cutting-edge technology. So apart from financial transfers, they also emphasizing more on innovation and cutting edge technology. So these days, NDB is willing to provide loan to green mobility schemes in various countries, because these days, several countries, they have been cruising towards attaining a net zero, right? So net zero is a part of a Paris Agreement. So to attain a net zero, these countries will be requiring the funding. So these funding and all will be provided by a new development bank, which is operating under the BRICS. And the headquarters of NDB is located at Shanghai, which is in China. Then, in the year 2018, NDB received observer status in the United Nations General Assembly, it establishing a firm basis for active and fruitful cooperation within the UN. So, I hope you all well known about the Bretton Woods institutions. So, we are having World Bank and IMF, right? So, World Bank, it have been operating as a multilateral development bank. But through the World Bank, the countries who are locating in the Western Europe and the United States. So these countries, they have been pursuing their interest through the efforts of the World Bank. Moreover, the developing economies, they are not getting any fruitful benefits out of the Bretton Woods institutions. So the BRICS countries, they actually conceptualized a gap which is persisting between the efforts of the developing country and the World Bank efforts. So they actually formulated a new development bank. So according to the new development bank provisions, they are having one mandatory provision, which is in the future, any country, they may join a new development bank. But the BRICS countries, they are supposed to have 55% voting power, okay? Because these days, the BRICS members, they are not getting enough voting rights from the World Bank or from the IMF. So that's what they actually formulated the new development bank. So in the future, any country, they may join or they may contribute to the new development bank, but the 55% voting power will rest with the BRICS members, okay? So this is with respect to the NDB. So NDB, they have been actually following the principle of the World Bank, and they have been working in the domains where the World Bank is working. Now we are having contingency reserve arrangement. So the contingency reserve arrangement, it will also work like a IMF. So the CRA is generally seen as a competitor to the IMF, and along with the BRICS New Development Bank is viewed as an example of increasing South-South cooperation. So in the IMF, if you are asking for any aid means, then they will be putting some restrictions, or they may be asking you to go through some reform procedures. Because even India, it is having one bitter experience in the year 1991. In that timeline, India, it faced a payment crisis. So it went to IMF and it asked some aid from IMF. But they came up with certain structural reforms which India is supposed to take. India also attested with the circulation what IMF had provided to India, and India, it had carried out the structural reforms in the year 1991. That's how several countries which are locating in the West and the United States, they all benefited through the reforms what India had taken. At the time, India, it drastically reduced the import duty. So the goods from the Western countries and from the United States, it actually flooded the Indian market. And it also paved the way for the investments from United States and from the European countries. So this is how the Western countries and the United States, they have been pursuing the interest through the operation of IMF. Okay. Then the BRICS CRA, it proposes to provide short-term liquidity support to the member through the currency swaps to help mitigating BOP crisis situation. Let's say Sri Lanka, these days they have been facing a payment crisis, right? So in that timeline, if they are approaching a CRA of BRICS means, then they will be asking Sri Lanka to go through the currency swap with the partner countries in the BRICS. So the BRICS members, they will be following a currency swapping mechanism with Sri Lanka. So that's how they will recover Sri Lanka from a poor financial circumstances. Then the BRICS CRA will help India and other signatory countries to forestall short-term liquidity pressures, provide mutual support, further strengthen the financial stability. So these are all the efforts what IMF have been taking throughout the globe. So since 2014, the contingency reserve arrangement of BRICS also have been pursuing the same role. So they are maintaining financial stability among the partner countries, and they are providing some mutual support And they are also looking up to resolve the short-term liquidity pressures on the economies which are part of the BRICS. Okay. Then fourthly, it is a framework that aims at providing support through additional liquidity and other measures to BRICS countries at a time of economic crisis. So, being a part of CRA and BRICS, the partner countries in the BRICS, they no need to approach IMF anymore because we are having our own framework. So, in the future, if we are facing any payment crisis, means we can approach the CRA and we can get the required funding to resolve the economic crisis. Then lastly, it would also contribute to strengthening a global financial safety net and complement existing international arrangements as an additional line of defense. So here, we all will know what the role IMF have been providing to the member countries, right? So apart from IMF, the contingency reserve arrangement of BRICS, it will also complement the activities of IMF. So this is what the last sentence have been mentioning, right? Now with this note, let us move on to the next slide. The importance of BRICS meet. So we need to know some historical phenomena. In the year 2020 and 2021, the COVID-19 and the related lockdown was imposed throughout the globe, right? So the global economy was stagnated. Right now, the global economy have been recovering. So in the post-lockdown timeline, this is the first BRIC summit. It is going to happen in South Africa. So that's what this summit acquires huge significance. Then in the year 2022, Russia, it kickstarted its special military operations on Ukraine. So the International Criminal Court, it issued a warrant against Putin because we all well know International Criminal Court, it came into existence through the Rome Statute, and the Western countries and the United States, they have been pursuing their political interest through the enforcement through the criminal court, right? So that's what they actually triggered International Criminal Court to issue an arrest warrant against the Putin. Then with respect to India, we were having a lot of boundary issues with China. So these issues, it have been getting normalized with the high command meetup between India and China. But with respect to China, they are actually promulgating a Belt and Road Initiative, right? So already in the concluded SEO meeting, they actually spread certain words related to the Belt and Road Initiative. It actually angered India. So in the upcoming BRICS meetup also, it may propagate some terms related to the Belt and Road Initiative. So India may also raise their voice against the Belt and Road Initiative because a part of Belt and Road Initiative, the CPEC corridor, $1,600 billion worth of CPEC corridor, it have been transpassing through the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So it have been questioning the sovereignty of India. So that's what India have been raising their voice against the Belt and Road Initiative. So that's what for India, the upcoming BRICS summit is highly significant. Then South Africa, they are inviting African Union countries under the Global South. Within the BRICS setup, we are having BRICS African Outreach and BRICS Plus Dialogue. So with the two platforms, the member countries in the BRICS, they have been pursuing the interest with the Global South countries and from the countries in the African Union. Okay. Then almost 40 nations, they are eager in joining the BRICS. Out of them, 19 had shown interest, and within that 19, we are having 4 potential applicants. The one is Saudi Arabia, then UAE and Iran and Argentina. So these all countries, they are highly significant from the geopolitical interest of India. And moreover, these 3 countries, they have been providing fossil fuels to India, and we are doing a huge import of fossil fuel from Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran. And in the future, India have been pursuing its interest to attain the carbon net neutrality, right? For that, we are acquiring huge amount of lithium. And Argentina, it have been possessing a vast amount of lithium. So in the future, India will expand its cooperation with Argentina. So with respect to this article, we have seen what is BRICS and how BRICS have been functioning, and what is NDB, then what is CRA, then what is the significance of the BRICS summit which is going to happen in South Africa. So these are all the few steps we have seen, and as I already told you, the BRICS members, they are having almost half of the global population, almost 42% of the global population BRICS countries are having. Then they are having 16% stake in the international trade. Okay, so these are the few basic facts you need to know. Okay, now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next article. This is the second article, guys. How is Supreme Court tackling gender stereotyping? Okay, with respect to this article, discarding archaic ideas with their patriarchal overtones, particularly while describing women and their issues, the Supreme Court released a set of new guidelines and phrases to be used by judges and lawyers. Right? So recently, the Supreme Court recently unveiled the handbook on combating gender stereotypes. Right? So the handbook, it aims to assist the legal community in identifying, understanding, and combating stereotypes about women. So basically, they are going to eliminate the words which are stereotype in its nature. So this is the ultimate aim of the handbook, but it will also root out the terms which are derogatory against men also. Okay, so primarily the handbook, it is going to eliminate all the stereotypes which are present in the legal community. Then it contains a glossary of gender unjust terms and suggests alternative words and phrases which may be used while drafting the pleadings as well as orders and judgments. So from now onwards, in all the pleadings and the related documents, then in the orders and judgments of the Apex Court, then the High Court, then the respective district courts, they will be using the term from the handbook. So from now onwards, they are working towards to combating the stereotypes which is present in the legal community. Then in the article, they also discussed about the proposed changes with some examples. Okay, so under the proposal, it is incorrect to say adulteress. Instead, the following words have to be used: woman who has engaged in sexual relations outside of marriage. So if any woman, if he is involving in any extramarital affair means, then we are not supposed to mention the women with the term adulteress, because there is no word for men also, because men also will be in the extramarital relationship, right? We don't have any word which are in stereotype for the men. Therefore, we need to eliminate the word adulteress under the proposed handbook. Then it is no longer right to use prefix chaste and obedient before women and wife. So, with respect to women, we often use chaste. Chaste means pure, right? And obedient means, in some context, we will be using the word obedient for mentioning the women. So, obedient women, obedient child, like that we will be mentioning, right? So, these terms and all not supposed to use from now onwards. So, this is what the handbook have been insisting. There should be a gender neutrality in the procedures what the legal members are going to undertake, right? Then thirdly, instead of the housewife, from now onwards, we are supposed to use the term homemaker. So, it doesn't have any stereotype. So, that's what homemaker is highly preferable compared to the housewife. Then the article is discussing why stereotypes are harmful. Okay. So, the first and foremost is it lead to the exclusion and discrimination at the workplace, educational institutions and public places. So, generally guys, you can see in each and every public places, they actually have been using the common term to mention the women. Okay. So, it actually have been causing that mental trauma to them. So, that's what the Supreme Court, it came up with the handbook. Okay. Then secondly, it identifies common presumptions about the way sexual harassment, assault, rape and other violent crimes are viewed and skewed against women. So basically guys, the reporting of the issues or the reporting of the incidents will be very low from the women's side, right? So the basic aspect is, if they are reporting in the police station means, then there is a persistent stereotype against the women. So that's what women are not coming forward to file a complaint against the perpetrators. So, to increase the reporting rate and to empower the women, the Supreme Court, they came up with the handbook. Then, one of the stereotype of court shatters is women who do not wear traditional clothes and smoke or drink are asking for trouble and drive home for important point of consent. So basically guys, if some women, if they are not wearing any traditional cloth or if they are smoking or drinking means, then the society have been viewing the concerned women with some stereotype, right? So these stereotypical mindset, it need to be break. So this is the ultimate aim of the handbook. So that's what they came up with, several protocols and several terms to eliminate the stereotype from the society. Then lastly, it also firmly asserts that Women who are sexually assaulted may not be able to immediately report the incident. Why they are not willing to come forward? Because if they are going to file a case means, as society, it may be viewing them stereotypically. So this is the main factor which have been pulling the women from reporting the incident. And the perpetrators, they have been using the characteristic features of the stereotypes to escape from the incident, right? So that's what, to eliminate the stereotype from the society, the Supreme Court, they clearly mentioned that from now onwards, lot of the terms which are conventionally using in the society need to be eliminated. Okay, so this is the basic things you need to know with respect to the handbook which is unveiled by the Supreme Court. Has the Supreme Court taken up stereotypes in its verdicts? So this is the question the article have been asking, and they have provided several examples. In Josephstein versus Union of India, a constitution bench, I think this is the case which happened in the year 2018, and it struck down the offense of adultery under the section 497 of the Indian Penal Code. So you need to know what is meant by adultery. Adultery means it is an extramarital relationship which is happening between the men and women. And the section 497, it actually prescribes punishment for the women, but it doesn't prescribe any punishment for the men. Okay. So this itself is a stereotypical, right? So in the proposed handbook, as I already told you, the Supreme Court, it wants to eliminate the term adulteress from the legal community. Then secondly, they had shown one example from Jharkhand. In the state of Jharkhand versus Shailendra Kumar Rai, the court reiterated its categorical ban on two-finger test and said it was irrelevant to the determination of rape, and that it violated the dignity of the rape survivors or victims. Basically, guys, to find whether the girl is sexually active or not, they were conducting the two-finger test. But a two-finger test, it doesn't have any scientific background to support their findings. Okay, so whether the girl is sexually active or not, we can't find anything foolproof with a two-finger test. So that's what in the state of Jharkhand versus Shailendra Kumar Rai, the apex court, they actually banned the two-finger test. So this is the second example they had given. Then thirdly, they had shown one example from Punjab. In the state of Punjab versus Gurmeet Singh case, the apex court, it held that a testimony of a rape survivor or victim is inherently credible. The delay in lodging an FIR can be due to variety of reasons. So if the woman, if she is filing a case against the perpetrator, that too in the rape case means, then the concerned local authority, they are supposed to file a case. Even the case may be filed after some time. Okay, so there may be variety of reasons for that, but the reporting itself is inherently credible. So this is the statement made by the Supreme Court. So we can hope that in the upcoming days we will be having a gender neutral society, and it will be empowering the woman in various domains. Meanwhile, we will also eliminating a stereotypical mindset which is prevailing in this society. Okay, so now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next article. This is the third article, guys. WHO managed grid to promote equitable access to digital health. So this is the third article, and WHO, they launched a global initiative on digital health. It is a network. It is going to be managed by the World Health Organization. And with respect to this article, we need to know what is meant by global initiative on digital health, because the global initiative on digital health is going to be one of the key deliverables of India's G20 presidency. And with respect to this initiative, it will consolidate the evidence and it will amplify the recent and past gains in the global digital health space. Meanwhile, it will strengthen the mutual accountability between the partners to enhance the impact of the future investments. Okay, so this is how the entire initiative is going to function. So it is a first of its kind initiative aimed at a data converge interface of health platforms and investments in the digital health space around the globe. So it is going to be act as a web-like structure where all the data and all will be pulled together, and there will be some manipulations. After that, the pattern will be emerged, right? So the pattern, it will be shared with all the member countries. So according to the pattern, they can do some investments or they can get some investments from the willing partners. So this is how the entire architecture of the global initiative on digital health is going to function. Then the G20 summit is also working on bringing in the crucial interim medical countermeasure, which is a network of networks approach in collaboration with the WHO. So don't confuse anything. Let me tell in a lucid way. So there are multiple networks have been operating under the WHO. So these all networks, it will be clubbed together under the Global Initiative on Digital Health, and it will be monitoring for their required data. Okay. Then thirdly, the global digital platform, it will include an investment tracker, an ask tracker, and a library of existing digital health platforms. So as we know, within the global initiative on digital health, there are three trackers are there. One is investment tracker and another one is ask tracker. So investment tracker, it will provide data to both the donor and the recipient about the investment related data. Then the ask tracker, it will provide a supplier and the consumer about the product requirements, because each and every region in India, let's say each and every region in India, they will be requiring some consumables from the health sector, right? So the ask tracker, it will forecast the demand and the supply. So this is what the ask tracker is going to do. Then we are having a library. In that library, we will be having a summary of the existing digital health platforms. Okay. Then the initiative has also found funding from global partners. As I already told you, we are having investment tracker. So with the help of the investment tracker, we can track the funding from the global partners. Then lastly, a global platform for data sharing will offer no data about its users, but will share analysis and work at interoperability of data. So let me explain. Let's say in India, in 2020, we were having COVID-19 cases, right? So right now, we are having disease name X. So almost in each and every square kilometer, thousands of people have been suffering from the disease X. Here the WHO, the Global Initiative on Digital Health, it will be collecting the data from each and every person, and it will provide some basic information to the web structure. So there won't be any requirement for the personal information in the web structure, and it will provide the basic information related to the disease and the trait and the genetic component which is present in the disease. So these data alone will be feeding into the web structure, and it will be manipulating the data. So here we are ensuring the privacy of each and every citizen. So this is the main component of the global initiative on digital health. Okay. Now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next article. This is the fourth article, guys. Pipeline work leads to vast megalithic site in Kerala. So a large number of megalithic headstones were found from a single site during the recent excavation, which was conducted by the Kerala State Archaeological Department in Malappuram district. So with respect to this article, we need to know what is meant by megalith and what are the basic characteristic features of the megalithic timeline, right? So mega means large, lithic means stone. They are large stones, and they were used to decorate the place of the cremated one. Okay. Here in the image you can see lot of Paleolithic, Neolithic and megalithic sites are there, right? So with respect to India, the actual timeline is between 1500 BC to 500 BC. So this is the timeline of both the megalithic and the Iron Age. So around 1500 BC, people, they actually found the iron tools, and they were doing the deforestation in this region, and they also doing this southernward expansion. Okay, both eastward and southward expansion were happened due to the deforestation. For the deforestation, they actually use the iron tools. And with respect to the megalithic timeline, these are the few characteristics. A megalith is a large stone that has been used to construct a prehistoric structure or monument that either alone or together with other stones. So basically it will be a region, it will be dotted with a lot of megaliths. Okay, so the site will be dotted with a lot of large stone pillars. So this is the basic characteristics of the megalith. And the megaliths were constructed either as a burial sites or commemorative memorials. So it may be a burial site or it may be for a commemorative purposes also, because to mention some heroic effort of a human being, they will also erect a megalith. Okay. The former sites are with actual burial remains such as dolmenad schist, which is a box-shaped stone burial chambers, then cane circles, which is a stone circle with a defined peripheries, and capstones. The capstones, it consists of a distinctive mushroom-shaped burial chambers found mainly in Kerala. Okay, but the cane circles, they are actually found in the Jammu and Kashmir region, right? Then in India, archaeologists trace the majority of the megaliths to the Iron Age. This is what I already explained you. And the timeline of Iron Age in India is 1500 BC to 500 BC. Though some sites, it precedes the Iron Age, which extends up to 2000 BC. So generally, we can take the megalithic timeline in India is between 2000 BC to 500 BC. But with respect to the rest of the world, it is between 3000 BC or 2500 BC to 1500 BC. Okay. So megaliths are spread across Indian subcontinent. The majority of the megalithic sites are found in peninsular India. And they concentrated in the states of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So as I already told you, most of the megalith sites, they are dotted in the peninsular landscape. Okay. So these are the few basic characteristics of the megalithic timeline. I hope you know about some basic characteristic features of the megalithic timeline. Okay. So in this article, basically we have seen where the excavation had happened and what are the basic characteristic features of the megalithic timeline and how the human beings in the 1500 BC and the 2000 BC, they had carried out the eastward and southward expansion with the help of the iron tools. Okay. Now let us wind up this article here. Let us move on to the next article. This is the last article, guys. Raptors make power towers their home. So study find that white-bellied sea eagle, they make nest on the power line towers in Tamil Nadu. Authors say this poses a risk to the species and also point to the lack of suitable nesting sites near the sea. So generally, white-bellied sea eagle, they have been inhabiting the coastal landscape of India. So both in the eastern shore and in the western shore, these species have been inhabiting. With respect to the white-bellied sea eagle, we need to know some basic facts. Both the male and the female, they will be weight around some 1.5 kg to 2 kg. And in the IUCN category, they are a least concern species. With respect to the species which are living in Tamil Nadu, the deforestation is in a rampant way. So that's what these species, they have been using the man-made structure for habitation and for breeding purposes. So this is what the article have been describing. And apart from India, these species, they also live in the coastal regions of the Southeast Asian countries and also in the Australia. So they are not endemic to Indian subcontinent. So that's what IUCN, it designated this species under the least concern category. Okay. So let us wind up our discussion part here. Now let us move on to the question part. But before getting into the question part, let us have a brief recap on what we have seen in our today's discussion. The first article is related to the BRICS. So with respect to BRICS, we have seen what are the basics of the BRICS and what is the population share, what is the international trade share of BRICS. Then we have seen about the new development bank, contingency reserve arrangement, then why it is highly significant, the upcoming BRICS summit which is going to happen in South Africa for India and for the rest of the countries. Okay, so this is what we had covered in the first article. Then the second article is related to the handbook. So the Supreme Court, it recently unveiled the handbook to eliminate the stereotype which have been prevailing in the society. So the handbook, it will be having some terms. So the lawyers and judges, they should use the term what it is present in the handbook to eliminate the stereotype which is present in the judiciary. So this is what we had discussed in the second article. Then thirdly, we have seen an article related to a global initiative on digital health. So this is what we have seen in the third article. Then fourthly, we have seen an article related to megalithic sites and the megalithic characteristics. So megalithic timeline we have seen and what are the basic characteristics of the megalithic timeline. So this is what we had discussed in the fourth article. Then lastly, it is an article related to the raptors, and within the raptors we have seen the basics of the white-bellied sea eagle and why they have been inhabiting the human-made structures. So this is what we had discussed in the last article. Now let us wind up this article part here. Okay, let us move on to the question section. So this is the mains question for you. Despite accounts for 40% global population, the prospects of BRICS in the international arena is grim. Critically examine the initiatives of BRICS in the context of prevailing global economic order. Okay, so here is a spelling error, in the context of prevailing global economic order. So here you can shortlist NDB, then CRA, Then their recent proposals on credit rating. Okay. Then SWIFT-like payment system. So these are the few stuffs you can discuss with respect to this question. I hope you can frame the answer for the given question. Okay. Now let us wind up the mains question part. Let us move on to the prelims question section. So here is the prelims question for you. Consider the statements related to the white-bellied eagle. It is a IUCN endangered species, and it is not a IUCN endangered species. It is a IUCN least concern species. Okay. So comparatively, it is less aggressive than the Indian trumped vulture. So it is highly aggressive than the Indian trumped vulture. So the second statement is also wrong. Then thirdly, it is endemic to Indian subcontinent. It is not endemic to Indian subcontinent. It is present in almost all the Southeast Asian countries and Australia and in India. Okay. So the third statement is also wrong. Answer option none is the right one for the question number 1. Then this is the second question for you. Consider the following statements. Megalithic period is India extends between 3000 BC to 1500 BC. So with respect to the megalithic timeline, I already told you throughout the world, the megalithic timeline, it extends between 2500 BC to 1500 BC. But in India, some regions, they are having a timeline between 2000 BC to 500 BC. And in many of the regions, they are having a timeline between 1500 BC to 500 BC. Okay. So the first option is wrong. Then unlike international phenomenon, Indian megalithic timeline dotted with penetration of iron tools. So this is the right one. In India alone, there is a coincidence of megalithic timeline and iron age. Okay. So the second statement is right. Answer option B is the right one for question number 2. Finally, we are arriving at the end of the discussion, guys. I hope you would like this discussion. Kindly press the like button. Subscribe to ForumIAS in all social media platforms. Let me catch you in another discussion in the upcoming days. Signing off, Vijay. Bye.